So I have a question actually for Jonathan, and I know this is a stupid question. I'm going to ask it anyway. But you talked about port being a fortified wine.
Sure.
But aren't those really sweet, inexpensive box wines? Aren't those fortified wines too? And so what's the difference between that versus a port?
Well,
which I generally think of as much better quality.
Right. And so maybe it's helpful to say that a fortified wine is not always sweet. And a dry still wine can be sweet, but doesn't have to be. The process of port production, as the sugars are being converted to alcohols, there's a point at which the yeasts naturally will be killed by the amount of alcohol in the batch, right? And so there's a point at which you've got to add more yeast that's more resistant to the alcohols to allow it to continue to ferment, approaching dryness. So then there's lots and lots of variables there, but the key here is with port production, you've got this very sweet wine that's fermenting and it produces 8-9% alcohol, and they add more yeast and it cooks it up to about 16% alcohol, but it's still cooking and doing its thing, and it's still pretty high sugar going on there, and that's when they dose in the grape spirit, essentially bumping it up to almost 20% alcohol. So you have a sweet product there. The same without fortifying with a sweet wine like a box wine or a Riesling or something like that. You're talking about something that's fairly high sugar and just doesn't ferment past 8, 9, 10% alcohol. And so the result is you still have sweet wine. One just has much higher alcohol and one has much lower. So a fun little rule that I use when Riesling shopping is grab the bottle, flip it over, and take a look at the alcohol content. If you see 6, 7, 8% alcohol in what is supposed to be a sweet wine, it is going to be sweeter, usually, than a wine that you flip over the back of the bottle and see it's 12, 13% alcohol. So, and then to address the box wine thing, that's just commodified wine. I mean, it's just lots and lots of grape juice fermented into large towers and tanks and then put in bladders and boxes and sold all over the place.